Alright, so here we are the morning after the Crawford County Fair Derby. It was yesterday, August 24th, 2019. We ended up not in the stock compact class, which is what they told me I was going to be in, but they actually called it the windshield class. The cars were allowed to have the front windshield remaining and then everything else removed. They didn't even have to have the doors, for example, like locked or anything like that. Some people actually open and close their door getting in and out. They're trying to get more people there. And we ended up taking, in this windshield class as they were calling it, second out of 19 cars. So the Ford Fusion did really good. Solid car. If you're someone that is ever looking for derby cars and you come across a Fusion and you're looking to run the stock compacts, I think this car was solid. I hit solely with the rear end the whole time. I was in it till the end. What ultimately ended up doing me in, why I took second, the motor still runs. Didn't take any damage up front on the motor, but show you under the hood here, I had a motor mount break. You can see right there, maybe 3 minutes into the Derby. And right there is where that mount was, which was holding the motor. So if you look at my motor right now, you'll notice it is sinking quite a bit to the right of the camera view here toward where the fuse box. You can see where I moved the fuse box in and got my battery wires zip tied down there. So you can see how far it fell. And what happened was, about 3 minutes in, the motor was vibrating. I could tell something was up with this wheel. I actually first thought I had a flat tire and I was just spinning on the rim. But it turns out I broke that clamp super early, and as the motor kept falling lower and lower to our right, this car's driver's side, it started slipping out of the CV shaft, which you can kind of see right there. It's all greased up to where it eventually pulled it the whole way out of the CV shaft. So even though I was still running and there's nothing wrong with the motor, and I still had the other wheel that would turn if this wheel was engaged. So I was talking with my buddy, he said this wheel must have been like the main drive wheel, so I couldn't get it engaged anymore. And it was me and it was actually a young woman left, and she had a solid car. She kept the front end protected the whole time, and she put a couple big hits on me, and I was trying to get it back into gear, couldn't do it, so ended up second place. But it was a blast. Car ran great. As I said, you can see inside here our fuel line didn't have any problem at all with that. Something though with the motor dropping down, it actually dropped so far down that the wiring, or the plug I should say, or excuse me, the gas tubes, the gas pipes running out of the motor actually pulled out. And the last time she hit me, which I was done anyways, I was breaking my stick, it actually popped out of the motor, pulled it out of the motor. So I had no problem here with my setup, but actually out of the motor, because it fell so far, it pulled that the whole way out, and I was leaking gas there, so I was done either way. So for the engine mount breaking so early and me slipping gears almost the first 4 or 5 minutes, I couldn't figure out what it was. It just wasn't grabbing right, and I couldn't really turn it like I normally could. The car did super well. I mean, again, the body, we had a ton of life left. Would have loved to have kept that thing together. You know, a little bad luck maybe that I broke a motor mount. Didn't even take a hit in the front. These little press-ins here were just like me and someone side by side and just kind of pressed against each other. I didn't take a hit at all, kept it toward the barrier. So I would have loved to, you know, give her a run for the money, as she had a pretty fresh car. And that damage there is actually from the forklift after. You can see here all the damage, which, you know, sometimes they're a little rough, but didn't seem like it broke anything. So that's her. The aftermath, you can see that the cage held up super well. Around here, these tires went flat, but again, this car having the 6-cylinder in it, I didn't even notice that I was pretty much dragging the last couple hits as I was hitting. I mean, the pit was a little muddy. They only sprayed it before the very beginning of the Derby, and then the rest of the Derby they didn't spray it again, and I was the 4th group out of like 6 or 7 to win. It was a huge Derby. I think they had almost 90 cars at Crawford this year in the evening one. So it was sliding in the mud, but didn't even notice it with the power this car had. So the Ford Fusion, definitely a car if I see again, I'd absolutely pick up for a Derby. Took a shot here in the door, but it didn't really matter, and he hit my bar there. I actually was kind of laughing. I'm like, I bet that hurt your car a lot more than me. Because, you know, the wheel The front wheel is what I just wanted to make sure I was going to protect, so when he was coming at me, he was aiming right at the door, so I just let him hit me. Didn't do any damage, so good time. It was a blast. Got second. Got our first trophy in our second derby, and it was a blast. So now we're going to strip down the bars and everything else and take her to the scrap tomorrow. And just to show as well, the trophy is super cheap, but second place, you know, we won a little bit of money. And here's our pistons on top. It's kind of cool. It's just cheap plastic, very cheap, but it looks neat. And we got some great photos with it after. So second place in the windshield glass group, as they say. We're pretty happy with it.